Welcome back to another episode of Building the Pride. I'm your host, Drew, and we are coming to you post Christmas. Unfortunately, we do not have a win to put in the win column this week or last week. So I believe, just to kind of wrap up here, the Lions are in the midst of a 3-game losing streak. That's correct. The Vikings have won 4 in a row. The Bears have won 2 in a row. And where are the Packers? The Packers have lost 2 in a row. So right now, as it stands, the Lions are in 4th place in the NFC North. I'll just go and confirm that real quickly while we're talking, but I do believe that's accurate. And that is, yep. So we are tied with the Vikings, and they have the tiebreaker on us, apparently. Let's see. Detroit has a point differential of plus 65 so far this year through week 17, which means they've outscored opponents by 65 points. That's about 3 games worth of points. Like if you look at the NFL average scoring, or 2 games of the Lions scoring. And they are mediocre at 8-8. But I'm going to try and put a positive spin on this. Okay. So, oops. I said week 16 and 7. I meant weeks 16 and 17. One moment. Oh, thank goodness. Oh, we saved it. All right. So here is the good news about if the Lions end the season at last place in the division. 2 things. First of all, I think the division is the first or second most difficult division in football. The only other one that I think is comparable this year is the NFC West, Seattle, San Francisco, Los Angeles. And I think that you might have I think you could make an argument that the AFC West, Denver, Los Angeles is there as well. But I think the NFC North is the toughest. There's nobody in the division. Hey, what's up, Jules Baja Blast? Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate that. If you've got any questions, just throw them in the chat. I'd be happy to talk about anything you might want to get on air here. So, no one in the division. Oh, you subbed. Thank you so much. No one in the division has a losing record. I'm kind of hoping that the Lions kind of shut it down for the season going into next week. Just let's not risk people like Sewell, Goff, Monroe, St. Brown, Aiden, that kind of thing. The guys they put out there will play hard. Whoa, 9. Will play hard, but I think at this point you could say the season's kind of been lost. They don't seem to be playing with a ton of grit. I've got my grit hat. I don't know if you guys can see that. My grit hat on this morning. And I don't want to risk anything for at this point in the season for next year. Like if somebody has an ACL or a knee, this year or this next week, like they're going to be out the majority of next season. Hazelnut coffee is delicious. So if the Lions go the season 8-9, the positive spin on that is going into next season, we get people healthier, right? So like we had people like Malcolm Rodriguez, Mekhi Wingo, Ali McNeil, Josh Paschal, Kirby Joseph, Brian Branch, they've either been hurt the previous season and do not look like themselves yet, or they have become hurt and need time to heal, right? We will see how those guys come back from injuries. And the nice thing about being fourth in the division is you get to play a fourth place schedule. So next season, Detroit will play the three fourth place teams in other divisions. And that should equate to 3 wins, right? The Lions, unfortunately, their MO. What team was last game and what team was last game and what team won? Last game was yesterday, and that was, we can put up a banner. Mike usually does the banners. It was week 17. Ow. Sorry, this is pretty entertaining, I'm sure. Lions, what do they end up getting here? 10. And the Vikings, 23. And then let's go ahead. There it is, unfortunately. So let's talk about the Vikings game. I watched it this morning again. Though they were starting Kingsley Eguakwan. I don't know how to say his last name. Kingsley. They were starting Kingsley at center. Graham Glasgow was either hurt and couldn't play. How was my Christmas? Oh, thank you so much for asking. My Christmas was excellent. I spent my Christmas Eve with my parents, my sister, her husband, and my nephew, who I adore. And then Christmas Day, the same group, we joined my father's side of the family at my sister's house. So I had my cousins, my aunts and uncles. So there's probably another 6 people there. I have a pretty small family. I hope you guys had a great Christmas as well, or whatever holiday that you guys celebrate. I saw something crazy the other day that between November 20th and January 24th, there's 11 different religious holidays in that time span. It's pretty crazy. So, yeah, it was fun. Thank you so much, man. Was it the league players? I got a camera for my what is MTB YouTube channel for Christmas, but that's cool that you got a camera for it, man. Yeah, let us know what MTB is and plug your channel in the chat, man. Go right ahead, link it or whatever. I got mountain biking. Oh, that's sweet. I am terrified to mountain bike. Terrified. I had some friends pre-pandemic who loved mountain biking, off-road, long distance, both trail and road biking, all kinds of it. And I would go on YouTube and I would watch, or like I would see Instagram reels of people mountain biking, and mostly it's them falling down, which is, I think, is hilarious when people fall down. I think it's great. But some of those trails are just like the width of the tire, and they somehow stay in the middle of it. It's pretty impressive, but I don't know that I could get out there in the woods and run the risk. My balance is trash. So I mean, when was the last time that I was on a bike? It's been a minute. Oh, that's cool. That's awesome. Who's my favorite player? On the Lions, it's Aiden Hutchinson. In the NFL, it's Aiden Hutchinson. I'm a Michigan fan, and I've been watching Aiden Hutchinson play football for his entire collegiate and professional career. I love how he plays football. So, who's your favorite player? What else? So, against the Vikings, they were starting Kingsley Aguaquin at center. Christian Mahogany was back, dusting off the rust. I believe that Tate Ratledge was at right guard. I'm going to try and confirm that right now while I'm talking. And then Taylor Decker did not play. So Penny played. He did a pretty good job. We're going to look at the PFF grades here in a second. I guess we could do that now. Well, all right. I'll share my screen. So once again, I like PFF grades because, like if I look at stats, that's just an accumulation of numbers, right? And this and like next gen stats are the only thing that I found that try and put some kind of like number on like how well the individual person actually played. So, and it's not the end all be all, it's just another way to look at it. So here on offense, Isaac TeSlaa had a pretty good game. I think that he needs to be playing as many snaps as the offense plays. I want them out there. I was going down a trail with my friend and I started sliding down the mountain. Ooh, it was kind of like sliding, but more dirty. Yeah, makes sense. And my clothes went in the wash like 4 times. That's funny. Oh, dude. I'm glad you're all right. I mean, in clothes, we can just wash clothes however many times we need to. But, hey, what's up, Joseph? Missed you, dude. Hope you had a good Merry Christmas. We're doing some PFF scores right now. And if you want to talk about anything in the chat, just throw it in. TeSlaa was awesome. I think this kid is going to be a real good player for us over the next like 3-4 years. Sewell, solid. He's been beat up this year physically, which is interesting because he's such a physical specimen and he's still very young. David Montgomery, he got to run the ball 10 times, which was great. And he is one of the reasons why I think that the offense has been struggling, is because they have gone away from running him 10, 12, 15 times a game. I'm fine with having Jahmyr Gibbs out there and getting 12, 15 carries a game and then like having him in the game for another however many passing plays where you use him as a receiver. But I don't want to sacrifice David Montgomery's touches in order to get Jahmyr Gibbs more touches. He's explosive. I like Jahmyr Gibbs. But like you can't just run him out there time after time after time hoping that he's going to bust off a 20-yard run. Your bike came down after us, yep, and it was super funny, but I couldn't stop laughing, and I thought I was going to pass out since I couldn't breathe from all the laughing. See, those are the memories, man. Those you're going to remember that forever. That's awesome, dude. Yeah, I hope people, everybody in here, like, go check out his mountain bike channel. You mind if you let me take screenshot? I don't know why you wouldn't be able to take a screenshot, but you have my permission to take my picture if you want to. I don't know what that means. Go right ahead, dude. Yep. So Tate Ratledge was out there. I think Ratledge is going to be quite good years 2, 3, 4, especially because he's playing next to Penei Sewell. He'll be in the offense. He'll be part of an off-season training program, and then he'll have another season of like coaching under Hank Fraley, learning what he needs to be done. And like I do think that the right side of the line is going to be exceptionally solid for the next 2 to 3 seasons with a future Hall of Famer in Penei Sewell and a guy that I think is going to be a really good guard in Tate Ratledge. Now, it's the center and the left side of the line that's troubling. I think Christian Mahogany can be a good left guard, but left guard is to keep it. Yeah, you can keep it. All right. Well, I'm going to go, but I'm going to sub to you. Keep going down. One day you might become a big. That would be awesome, dude. And I hope that your YouTube, your mountain bike channel does well. Thanks for stopping by, man. Appreciate it. Left guard looks like at least it's got a competent player at it for the next 3-4 years on a rookie deal. So that's good. 3 years? Yeah, see you, man. And then, so what happens with Taylor Decker? What happens at center? Will Frank Ragnow return to the Lions next season? That's the best case scenario. If he doesn't return, what do we do, right? It looks like center is an unbelievably important position for this offense that the Lions are running. So, and then one of the concerns was that if center is such a important position, like, what is the plan moving forward? Like, if you draft a kid, he's not going to come in and be anywhere near Frank Ragnow's level right away, and then do you go into free agency? Do you make a trade? How do you solve the mystery of the center position? St. Brown, good. Tate Ratledge, we talked about. Jameson Williams. I like Jameson Williams a lot. I think he brings a skill set that very few other people in the NFL can replicate. Khalif Raymond is back and working off some rust. He was returning punts this last game. Skipper filled in for Decker, didn't play very well. Gibbs didn't have a good score as far as PFF is concerned, had a really good impact in the passing game. Kayode Ewoshika came in for a couple of plays. Now we have like the unfortunate platoon at tight end, Anthony Fursker, Giovanni Ricci, and St. Zylstra, all third stringers to some degree, getting a bunch of snaps. Like what? Ricci had the fewest with 32, but Fursker had 35 and Zylstra had 45, and they all scored badly. So it is entirely possible that like the person in the offense that they are missing the most is Sam Laporta, who I think this would indicate he's more important than maybe we gave him credit for. And then, of course, Jared Goff is down here. Jared Goff did not play well this last game, unfortunately. I think he was credited with 4 turnovers, 2 picks and 2 fumbles. And you can argue whether or not the last one was his fault. It was a bad snap. There were 2 bad snaps. Center quarterback exchange, and we lost both of them. And you can put, I don't know how you put blame on either buddy, both people or neither person. I don't know, but it was devastating to watch. And like Minnesota, I didn't think Minnesota was a very good team, and they are starting a third string quarterback. And I think they had a net of 3 passing yards in this game. So basically, we traveled to Minnesota. They could not throw the ball, and we lost. So not a good outing. Let's check the defense real quickly. Aiden Hutchinson up here at the top. Always good to see. Can't seem to I don't have my. He had 2 sacks. That was good. Malcolm Rodriguez had his best game in a long time. He'd only been getting a handful of snaps the last 2-3 weeks. He got 20 snaps this week. Was good in run defense, good tackling. Nice to see. Daniel Thomas, our third string safety, played a nice game. Derek Barnes played a good game. Good run defense, good tackling. Good to see. Jack Campbell, kind of a breakout. We're going to talk more about Jack Campbell here in a little bit. Amik Robertson, he has a cast on his hand, a big club. He played a relatively good game. Excellent coverage grade at 76. DJ Reader played a nice game. Alex Anzalone. Thomas Harper, I think, got concussed and had to leave. I don't remember seeing Marcus Davenport out there. Al-Qadim Muhammad had another 3-sack game. That Detroit's defensive line was effective against what the Vikings were doing on offense. Where's Alim? Oh, sorry. I got to scroll down here. Here he is at the bottom. Oops, I got to make this bigger. There, hopefully you guys can see that a little bit better. There he is. Loss of Laporta and to a lesser extent Brock Wright, and then not utilizing Montgomery in the offense has lost its identity. I do feel like this season the offense, or the offensive play calling has just been tragic, I guess is the word that I would use. I think Morton had like 6 games, and then Campbell took over, and then it's just I don't think it has improved at all. And like the thing that surprises me about Dan Campbell calling plays is that like he will say things in his press conferences like, yeah, we got to get Montgomery involved, or yeah, we got to do A, B, and C. And then when the game actually happens, like you don't see the realization of the things that he was talking about after the previous game. So Detroit fan man, I don't think that it's either one of those. I think that he is coming back from injury and didn't have the benefit of playing next to Tyleik Williams last season, and then being in game shape or what have you. And I mean, he might be. I mean, well, I guess what I'm saying is let's see how he plays next season. If it's the same thing, I'm willing to go there with you. So, well, I mean, like, so if I don't know what kind of injuries you've had in your life, but I've ripped my bicep off my arm, the ligament off my arm, and they reattached my ligament so my arm would work, and they gave me a bunch of rehab things to do, and so I did them, but like still, like it takes weeks and months, and like I'm not a professional athlete by any stretch. Their learning curves, their physical curves they take less time than mine would, right? But it took me weeks and months to get the movement back and then get the strength back, or whatever. And I'm not out there doing what professional athletes do. And so I could understand how Alim might just be like, yeah, the ligament's healed in his knee, but, like he wasn't able to do like the cardio that he needed to do in the off season because it's a knee and not an arm and that kind of thing. And so, this they might very easily have also been like, we need him to get back into shape so that like heading into the off-season program, he's has a better chance of getting back to where he needs to be. But yeah, he didn't play well. Like there's no way around that. Like, let's see. His run defense was poor. He did not register a pressure. His pass rush was just above average. So not good, just not good. And Tyleik Williams is a rookie, and like has not played as much because, Lee McNeil has come back. Yes, the Lions run defense is not nearly as good this year. So I do kind of want to talk about that as well. There's lots of things I want to talk about. But let's do this. I like to talk roster and like philosophical stuff. Like, what should the Lions do? Like in the context of a mock draft. So I know that not everybody loves mock drafts. Okay. I happen to really enjoy them. So if this is not your cup of tea, I apologize. But if it is your cup of tea, like, welcome to the Thunderdome, because we're going to do this. Okay. So all right. So let's mock it up. There we go. That's my boy. Okay. So I want to talk to you about, let's do this thing. Okay, let's talk to you about one of my prospect crushes right now. It's this kid, Sonny Styles from Ohio State. 6'5", 243, will linebacker. Okay, so I can already hear the thoughts. Is Redeker going to retire before the draft? I don't know. Let's talk about it. The offense can score points. They've done so all season, right? I think they can score enough points to win games. I think the defense has a chance to be excellent. So here's my new theory on building a roster, and it's this idea of a force multiplier. So what does that mean? So it means if you have a great player, and I think the Lions have a couple of great players at every level of their defense, get them somebody else that can benefit from the great player's presence. Okay, so one kid, this guy, Sonny Styles. So heading into this season, Alex Anzalone is on an expiring contract. There was a small contract dispute between him and the Lions. What is going to happen with Alex Anzalone? If the Lions decide that they want to move on, like Alex might go to play in New York with Aaron Glenn as a veteran presence on that team. The Lions might decide to go younger. I would go and get somebody like Sonny Styles to play next to Jack Campbell. I want them to play base nickel, and when Branch returns, I want Branch to be the nickel guy, so that your linebacking core would look something like Brian Branch, Jack Campbell, and this kid. This kid has an excellent run defense. He's excellent in coverage. He is a converted safety who bulked up. He can run like the wind. And I don't know that I think there's a ton of speed on Detroit's second or third level on their defense. He is an excellent tackler. He has a 0% missed tackle rate this season at Ohio State. And I'm a Michigan fan. I hate Ohio State. So please understand how good I think this kid is in order to recommend this. I think him and Jack Campbell together for 3 years would be one of the best linebacking duos in the NFL. Okay, so let's talk about Decker. Is Decker going to retire? Taylor Decker has been in the NFL now for, I think, close to 10 years. And has been a warrior. He has played hurt. He is not one of the best tackles in the NFL. Aren't we paying Barnes too much next year? Well, they're paying him $8 million. I think was the AAV on his contract. So I can answer that real quickly. All right. So teams, cap space, Detroit Lions, get rid of the ads. Let's go find Derek Barnes. Derek Barnes in 2026, next season, he will make $9.2 million against the cap. That is 2.9% of the cap. So I'm not saying that you don't play Derek Barnes. I'm just saying that you don't play him 51% of the snaps. So I think $8 million for a starter or a semi-starter at linebacker is probably really good. It's probably a real solid deal, but not the type of money that says you have to play this guy all the time because he's so good. I just don't think that Derek Barnes is the kind of player that changes the dynamic of what's happening on the football field. So they have him under contract for this upcoming season and one more season, 2027. And then I don't think he's on the team after that, to be honest. So, but the Lions roster is one where there are not a lot of spots to fill. And in order to get better, I think we will start to have to let go of quote unquote established players. I'm not talking about losing Derek Barnes. I'm talking about losing Alex Anzalone, who seems to be the more popular and well thought of the two linebackers next to Jack Campbell. But if the Lions go out and get Sonny Styles to pair with Jack Campbell, I think that everyone will forget about Derek Barnes by week 4. And if you come back, like, I think that Brian Branch is so much more effective near the line of scrimmage. I would rather see Brian Branch blitz from like a nickel spot, cover a tight end, blow up a wide receiver screen, track down a running back on one half of the field. And if you have Sonny Styles on one side, and I'm assuming that Brian Branch comes back and looks like himself after this injury, then you have, I think, the first level of your defense, of your defensive line is pretty good. And I think the second level of your defense is really good. It has 3 unique playmakers that can all do different things at that level. And I just don't think that what does Derek Barnes do well? Like, he plays strong side linebacker. That's supposed to be like the rush linebacker spot, but he doesn't rush well. Like, he's a former Mike linebacker who's had to convert to a different position because Jack Campbell's so good. And I think that he fits into his role now, but I also don't think that he excels at that role. And I think that this roster, in order to quote unquote take the next step, start beating good teams in the NFL, not just living off beating the bad ones, needs to get players that are exceptional talents in the same position groups. I don't think that they can just be like, well, we have one edge, one linebacker, one safety, that are all pro level. And we got to fill in the gaps around them a little bit. And I just think that Derek Barnes is a guy. So, so back to Taylor Decker. So what if he retires? Well, the problem with this upcoming draft is 2 things. Number one, the Lions, I think I saw per Tankathon today, they are picking 16th if the draft were today. And there are no left tackles in this class that are worth drafting. It's like the worst left tackle class in 10 years. So you're not going to, I don't think you're going to end up trading for a left tackle. I mean, like, the only left tackle that I think has been traded that has continued to play well at left tackle in the NFL in like the last 10 years has been Laramie Tunstall. And he's been traded twice because he's a giant pain in the ass. So, okay. So then, right. Okay, good. So you and I are on the same page. So, like, what do you do then? Do you move Penei Sewell to left tackle? He played left tackle at Oregon. He's still young. What do you do? So here's the thing. They can do that, right? And then Penei Sewell has to change back after 4 years of playing right tackle. And if he continues to play right tackle, he's probably a Hall of Famer. Can he do it? Yeah, I think that he can do it. Should he do it? That's the question. So let's assume that they switch him. They switch him to left tackle. And if the board falls like this, you could draft this kid from Utah, Spencer Fano, who was the best quote unquote tackle in the draft. But he is a right tackle almost exclusively. He played a little bit of left tackle as a freshman. Let's see. Is he a red shirt? Nope, he's a true junior. So he played a little left tackle as a freshman and has played exclusively at right tackle for the last 2 years. So excellent pass blocker, good run blocker in both gap and zone. I think this would be a guy that the Lions would look at if he were to fall to them. Like, right now, I have him going like 6 because I think the Giants are going to trade out of the number 1 spot, assuming they get the number 1 pick, and like somebody like Vegas or Cleveland come up to go get a quarterback, and then the Giants are picking 6 with a little extra draft capital, and they're like, oh, well, we'll take a right tackle to pair with Andrew Thomas. Like, and I think that because there are no other good options, they would take this guy. So, but in this draft, he's here. So you move Penny to left, you draft this kid, and now you have a right tackle. And so is the line fixed? This year we have Taylor Decker at left, Penny Sewell at right, and no center. And it looks like the line just can't do anything. How does Miles Frazier figure in? So I think Miles Frazier heading into this next season, he was hurt all this year with various ailments. So I think one of two things is going to happen. He is either going to cross train at like right, left, and center and be like the new Graham Glasgow. Like, I can play any interior spot. Or he's going to train exclusively at center, and they're going to see if somebody on the roster, Ratledge, Frazier, Mahogany, looks like a real center. Oh God, the Manu problem. So I think the best thing that we could hope for from Giovanni Manu at this point is that he becomes new Dan Skipper. Can Giovanni Manu play offense? I think he's too big. I think he's physically too big to play guard. They tried him in preseason at guard, and it just didn't seem to work. Manu is going to be fantastic. Yeah, he's really tall. Here's the problem. Like, Giovanni Manu looks like God had a lump of marble and carved a statue out of it. Like, if you were looking for the height, weight, speed to make an NFL offensive tackle, like, he's it. He's enormous and he's fast. The problem is he played against competition above a high school level that wasn't, maybe not up to the community college level or the JUCO level. I mean, he had just terrible competition. He went to Vancouver, BC, something, and like, is he going? Like, so here's my problem with Giovanni Manu is that Brad traded like a future 3rd round pick so he could draft him in the 4th or whatever it was. A year, he traded a pick a year ahead so that he could take this guy now, so that he could sit him on the bench and develop and mold this marble statue or this ball of clay or whatever analogy you want to use. And like, I don't think that you have to do that. Like, so my hope for Giovanni Manu is that he can supplant Dan Skipper and be like the 3rd offensive tackle on the team. Like, can you go out there and just be competent? Like, can you just be competent? And if it doesn't happen this year in preseason, it's not going to happen. Like, he either has to like go out and demonstrate that he's not going to miss assignments, that he can stay healthy, which he hasn't done yet, and like that he has put some of this stuff together. Because if Taylor Decker retires, like, the next guy in the room is Penny Sewell, right? Like, who else do you have? So I don't know that it was a mistake to draft Manu. I didn't like the way that it came about. But he is not. I can't believe there'd be anybody out there who's like, oh no, this guy is paid off. He's rewarded, the faith that the Lions have put in him. So, anyways, so you could move Penny to left. You could draft a right tackle. There's plenty of right tackles in this class that you could draft. Here's a guy that I think we should consider, and it's Caden McDonald. He may not also be there. 6'3", 326. Not sure what room is more imposing, the OT room after Sewell or the tight end room after Laporta. Oh, you mean which room is worse? Because I think that I would agree with, I think that I know where you're going with that, and I would agree. It's been pretty bad. So Caden McDonald, though, is a nose tackle through and through. 6'3", 326, run defense grade off the chart. His run stop rate is excellent. He plays A and B gap at Ohio State. He's just great at doing this one thing. And if you want, I said you were doing it sarcastically. Okay. If you want another DJ Reader, two gapping nose tackle to for the foreseeable future, then I think that you could consider Caden McDonald. Okay, so what if Ragnow returns? Okay, so Ragnow is so fucking tough that he popped his hamstring off the bone and just thought he tweaked it during the workout to see if he could pass his physical and come back to the Lions this year. So Linderbaum's not getting out of Baltimore. So, but I have some other options I think that the Lions could target in the offseason. We'll talk about that in a second. So if Ragnow comes back, I think we'll know in the next month or two, I would imagine. Like, he's going to have to heal up from the hamstring, which will take some time. And then they'll have to sign him when he comes out of retirement. And I think that it's a one and done. You know, like we're going to take one chance to win a Super Bowl. Let's go. I'm Frank Ragnow. He's not 30 yet. He's only played in the NFL this for 7 years. It's kind of shocking how short of a time he's been in the NFL. It's the best case scenario for the Lions. He knows the scheme. He knows the personnel. He lives here. We love him. People love him. He's excellent, or has been excellent when healthy. The problem I have, the only issue I think about when I think about Frank Ragnow is that the injuries that he had that I think caused him to retire initially won't heal. Like, his toe is fucked. However, I mean, you know, having him back is way better. Like, just from a point of view of he goes to the line, he sets the protections, that will be taken care of, you know, and I think that the communication would be much better on the offensive line with Frank Ragnow than anybody else the Lions could hope to do, regardless of Frank Ragnow returning or not. The Lions need a legitimate plan to take over for Frank Ragnow when he does finally decide to retire permanently. So that will not be, I don't think, in this draft. So what do they do? Well, my first thought would be trade for a center in the NFL right now. I would trade for a center like Eric McCoy from New Orleans. New Orleans is really bad, and they're finally starting to take like their salary cap issues seriously. Eric McCoy has been an excellent center in the NFL for a while. Like, could you say, we'll give you a 4th or 5th round pick for Eric McCoy? He comes off your books. We get a good player. You get a little bit more draft capital trying to rebuild. He's not on your timeline. Could you do that? Except that he was hurt. So they had another guy come in. His name was Luke Fortner. He used to be the center for Jacksonville. He left after his rookie deal. He's played all right in New Orleans. I think if you put him with better players, better everything, really, in Detroit than New Orleans, does that raise his floor, his ceiling? I think you could get him for a late day 3 pick, you know, or he might even be a free agent. The Bills center, Connor McGovern, I believe, is a free agent. Like, if he makes it to free agency, I think Detroit should knock on his door. So I think that there are some current players in the NFL that the Lions can target to be effective multi-year replacements for Frank Ragnow. If you cross-train somebody on the roster, that's going to take their first year playing center is not going to look good. It just, for whatever reason, the first, I mean, even Frank Ragnow played guard his rookie season in Detroit, like, and then he moved to center in year 2. So, like Tyler Linderbaum, as a Detroit Fan Man says, he's coming off of his rookie deal. He's not going to get tagged because of the way that the NFL they designate an offensive lineman tag as opposed to tackle guard center, and so you have to pay a center having to average everybody in the NFL on offensive linemen. So it really elevates what he would make if he was tagged. So I do think that he will, quote unquote, make it to free agency, but I don't think that he's getting out of Baltimore. Also, he's 180 degrees different from Frank Ragnow. Frank Ragnow is big, heavy, move you off the ball kind of center. Tyler Linderbaum is a zone center. So he is going to pull. He's going to, I mean, he needs help. So like if you're just going to ask him to block some of the bigger defensive tackles just in the NFC North, I think that it would be a tough assignment for him if he's just going to play gap all the time. Like they would have to become a more zone heavy team if they were going to go and get Linderbaum. Because if you're not, you're asking an ostrich to fly, in my opinion. And like maybe that's a little bit too harsh, but like he's like 300 pounds. Frank Ragnow was like close to like 340 when he was playing. So I mean, like there is a huge difference in size and like athleticism between a Frank Ragnow player that I think the Lions would target, and then the new wave of centers coming into the NFL who all look like Tyler Linderbaum. So like Detroit is kind of bucking a trend when it comes to their offensive center position because they want like the traditional, like old school, beat you up, world monster size offensive lineman. Decker's big and thick, Sewell's big and thick and athletic. If you look at Mahogany and Ratledge, like they're both large dudes who can like move a guy off a ball. Like I think that he would be out of place with the personnel. But like I also understand like where you're going with that. Like go get the best young center that you can get to pair with this line. I'm on board with that part of it. Yeah, and that's the thing. I think, Joe, that one of my big problems with the team this year is that like they seem to just have like staunchly stick with like we're just going to do this, like we're just going to run man, we're not going to run zone on defense, like we're just going to stick with base personnel, we're not going to go to nickel, we're going to stick with like gap blocking on offense, like to get Gibbs like sprung for big explosive plays, but we don't have the personnel we need in order to to gap well. Like we're just going to do this, like we're not going to throw the ball to Jameson Williams unless St. Brown's hurt. Like they just seem to be so obstinate in like what they're trying to do. And I don't know how much of that is the coaches and how much of that is Goff or how much of that is whatever. But like, I think some flexibility would be excellent, for them. So like, and there's one more guy I want to talk about here. So this idea of force multipliers, like let's get this guy, TJ Parker, 6'3", 260. I think Al-Quadin Muhammad has played well enough that he should be either the starter or at least split time with somebody, and not like, see 60 snaps one week and 15 snaps the next because of the matchup. Like I think that he needs to like be on the field most of the time, like 2/3, 3/4 of the time. Yeah. So like Jake Slaughter. Yeah. So yeah, you and I are on the same page, dude. But he is closer to Linderbaum than he is Ragnow, I think. But we'll take a look at it. So like pass rush win rate, 15, almost 16%. Good run, good edge rusher, good run defense. Lines up primarily outside of the tackle. So like Detroit typically likes players like Josh Paschal, Marcus Davenport, who can be inside outside guys. I think they need to do away with that idea and kind of go to somebody that's like, we need to generate more pressure to pair with Aiden Hutchinson and what he's doing. Like I think it's clear now that Aiden is going to pressure quarterbacks, but I don't think that he's like the game just because Aiden's on the field. He's not like a Myles Garrett where you can just change the complexity of a game all by himself. Just Aiden alone is not that level of player. Maybe he gets there someday, but like we're talking like Myles Garrett, Aaron Donaldson, from was it Donaldson? The defensive tackle from Pitt who played for the Rams and like in the running for all-time greatest defensive player ever. Like those kinds of guys, I just need it. Well, right. So like, and that's the other thing. Like Aiden Hutchinson is playing like Myles Garrett only plays like 3/4 of his team's defensive snaps. Aiden plays 90 up. So like you need somebody out here that can just get, I mean, like at this time of year, like Aiden's got over 1,000 snaps under his belt this season already. Like you need somebody that can get him a breather, and like not so he doesn't wear out, after week 14 or whatever. So like I like TJ Parker. I don't think that there's a center that you can draft. They have DL here, but I think that means edge players. And like there does seem to be this idea that like Detroit needs a corner, but like you paid DJ Reed and Terrion Arnold. I continue to think that Terrion Arnold is good and had like a bad 4 to 6 game stretch. But since the first 4 to 6 games of his rookie season, I'll put the penalties that he commits on par with any other member of Detroit's secondary, especially DJ Reed. So like I just, especially because they asked him to play the other team's best opposing guy as a rookie, and he this year he just got beat up. But like he might come back next year healthy. Rakestraw might come back next year healthy, and they might just be excellent players. I mean, that is a possibility. So right now in this, I'm going to draft TJ Parker because I think that I believe the closer to the ball a player is, the more they can affect it on defense. And so I'm just going to build. I'm still betting on big ol' Ennis Rakestraw. He has, I think, this upcoming season to prove to say, please keep me on the roster. So okay, here we are in round 2. We have taken an edge player. I think you could look at this guy, AJ Halsey from LSU, 6 foot, 220. Good in coverage, good in run defense. Hasn't been hurt. Lines up all over the field. Just a good player, just a solid, good player. What does Brian Branch look like when he comes back? When will he come back next year? Is Kirby Joseph's knee injury a career ender? He hasn't played since week 6. The reporting that I saw said that he will have to manage pain in his knee the rest of his life. That could be a real problem. Hey, he's back. Nobody new came in while I'm gone. That's sad. I thought tons of people would come here. Well, we have more people this week, Bay, than we have in the last couple weeks. We're not a big channel, but like we have some pretty loyal fans. 6 feet 220. Yeah, it's a big dude, right? And he's equally a run stuffer and a coverage guy. So you could have him. I mean, like, I don't think anybody's going to be Kirby Joseph if Kirby Joseph isn't Kirby Joseph anymore. But like, that doesn't mean that you can't get a good player back there who can do other good things for you, right? And like Detroit coming into this season, they had 2 of the best safeties in the NFL, and now do we have either? All right, so like here's the tackle, Trevor Gooseby from Texas, 6'7", 312. That's close to what Decker is. Good run blocker, not as good of a pass blocker. Let's see, is he a right tackle? No, he is a left tackle. So he played his best season this season, more than double the number of snaps that he had the previous year. He may not even come out, to be honest. He's a sophomore. But like, I would bet on somebody like that, or this kid, Caleb Tiernan from Northwestern, 6'7", 325. He is a left tackle exclusively, and he is a pass blocking left tackle. So Northwestern is not going to knock anybody's socks off as a football program, right? But that doesn't mean that they can't produce good football players, and this might be one. And so if Eric Decker retires, I would look at someone like this guy, or there is a left tackle from Indiana. I think his name is Andre Carter that I would take a look at as a potential replacement. But like the left tackle is a lot like quarterback in the NFL draft. Like, unless you were drafting top 5 or top 10, you are probably not getting one worth their salt. Like, I think Decker went 20th in the draft. The Lions took him, and that was 10 years ago, close to 10 years ago. So who else? Like, I think that this guy, Emmanuel Pregnon from Oregon, is a good fit for the Lions. 6'5", 318, height, weight, speed. Excellent run blocker, excellent pass blocker. Has not missed time in college. He is a left guard. So if Mahogany is cross-trained at center, and Mahogany or Frazier is your center of the future, and you don't believe in, maybe you don't believe in Mahogany. Maybe he hasn't proven enough to warrant not taking a guy like this in the second round and like having some competition. Like, I think that this guy is as close to plug and play at left guard as you can do. And like, I think that the Lions need to continue to invest in their offensive line, mostly because I think that Jared Goff is not the kind of guy who is going to elevate the players around him. Jared Goff is a quarterback that needs to have a high floor of the team around him in order for him to be good. And like, I think this guy could help with that. So I've done lots of mock drafts, and I've drafted Pregnon a number of times, Tiernan a number of times, Halsey a number of times. Here is another option for a nose tackle. Dante, 6'1", 335, pretty good run defender. Not quite on the level of Caden McDonald, but he's there. Connor Liu is hurt and is, I think, already declared that he's going back to school. So this is not a realistic option, but he's 6'3", 303 pounds. Like, he's 30 pounds lighter than what the Lions are looking for a player at that position. So, like, is he even on their board? I don't know. Here's Jake Slaughter. But look, 6'4", 300 pounds. So he's an inch taller and the same weight. But like, he is probably the number one guy center in the draft that's going to come out. And so like, I don't think that the Lions could really pass him up. There's one other candidate. He's listed as a tackle because that's what he played for Duke, but it's this guy, Brian Parker II, or junior, I don't know, 6'5", 305. He's going to be a center in the NFL. He is not a tackle. He just happened to play tackle at Duke, but like, everybody is saying that he is converting to a center. So fine, but like, he's a pass blocking center and he should be relatively good at that, but like, he's not going to be good right off the bat, So I was thinking, did the Indiana kid already get drafted? Or did he come back? Is he out of the simulator? Oh, right here, Carter Smith, not Andre Carter. So I think that there are some options for the offensive line in both the first and second round for the Lions. So in this one, I'll take Slaughter. Cool name, position of need. Where the hell did he go? There he is. All right. So the Lions do not have a third round pick. They would have had 2, but they drafted Isaac TeSlaa instead. And so like, I think Isaac TeSlaa is going to be a good player, but I don't think he's worth 3 third round picks. So prove me wrong, Isaac. That was a kind of a Brad will throw a head scratcher out there for me once a year at least. trying to figure him out has been a real joy. Okay, so we have talked about the offensive line. We have talked about defensive players. Let's talk about tight end. That was brought up earlier. What kind of tight end do you guys want the Lions to draft? I have an idea of what I want them to do, but he is still not been added to the draft. So waiting through this third round is going to be awful. Well, yeah, I mean, that's the kind of thing. It's like, okay, I need to run some errands. Let me just follow it on my phone while I go to the grocery store. Is there any way you can trade Goff for picks and get a rookie QB and a QB vet? Okay, let me talk about it. So you need to trade if you're going to do that. Let me share a different screen here real quickly. All right, let's take a look at Jared Goff's contract. Go away. I haven't actually added it to the thing. I always think that I've added it, but I haven't. All right, so this is Jared Goff, the man, the myth. He is going to his salary cap next year is going to more than double. He is going to be paid a cap number of $69.6 million next season. Almost 22% of the team's cap space will be dedicated to Jared Goff. So hang with me, Jacob, because I'm getting to your point, I promise. Now, you can restructure Goff next season for just over $40 million. So the Lions are going to have cap space next season. But if you were to trade him, you would be taking a pretty significant cap hit. There's about $18 million difference. Yeah, I mean, Jared Goff, if he is on the Lions, which I do believe that he will be, is going to have to be restructured because they have now paid their draft picks who are now veterans, and you're going to have to free up space, and he is the one-stop shop for $40 million in cap space. So that's probably going to happen. But so can you trade him? I think the answer is that you can trade anybody in the entire NFL, regardless of what their contract looks like. It's just the uglier the contract, the more difficult it is. So who would trade for Jared Goff? Would Arizona trade for him? Would the Jets trade for him? Would Aaron Glenn want to bring him on? What about Cleveland? Probably not. What about Pittsburgh? They might have a quarterback situation on their hands. Who else? The Raiders are a team that is looking for a quarterback. Arizona, Kyler Murray's probably not going to be back on the team. Who else? New Orleans looks like they're going to give Tyler Schuff, I can't believe that's how you say his name, a chance. Atlanta might. Michael Penix is hurt again with yet another serious injury, and Kirk Cousins is terrible. So do you use Goff as a bridge for a year or two? Would you do that if you're Atlanta? Probably not. Like it's going to be tough. Like, let's see, no one in the division, not Washington, not Philly, not New York, not Dallas. So like, I think that there's always teams looking for a quarterback. But if you're Detroit, this feels more like a trade to get Jared Goff off of the roster than it is to like accumulate draft picks or a veteran quarterback. So like if they're going to make a trade for Jared Goff, I would imagine that they would go to a player like Tyrod Taylor or like a journeyman backup, that has proven that they can come in and like fundamentally run a team. Yeah, like, and I do think, like, I feel like there's a 0% chance of this happening this year. Here's what I think we need to watch moving forward is that Dan Campbell in his press conference after the game yesterday said that he was going to have to look at a lot of different things, right? What does that mean? I don't think that there are seismic changes coming to this team. I don't think Dan Campbell's job is in any jeopardy whatsoever. But like usually the first building block that falls is the quarterback when it does come time to make a change. And Jared Goff has a ton of money on his contract next season. And then the year after that, in 2027, he'll be 33, but he will have no guaranteed money on the deal. So, and once players have no guaranteed money, that's the time where either people start wanting an extension to get more guaranteed money back in their pocket, or they want other assurances. I don't agree that this roster has a lot of holes. Injury recovery will dictate. I think that the roster doesn't have a lot of holes and that there are people on the roster that are hurt, and that when they get healthy, the Lions will be a much better football team. Are you just responding to Jacob? I just think Goff's contract will make it very hard to rebuild a roster that has a lot of holes. So I don't think that the Lions roster has a lot of holes. I think the problem with the Lions roster is that, like, if you look at the game yesterday, they are playing 3 third-string tight ends, right? They are playing Christian Mahogany, who's just come off being on the injured list for a month, and needs to knock the rust off. Like, they are playing their practice squad center, Eric Decker. I did it again. Taylor Decker has had his shoulder hurt all year and is not playing the way that, like, you would imagine Taylor Decker plays. Like, Penei Sewell has been hurt for half the year with various nagging injuries and has, like, Kirby Joseph is not playing. Like, Brian Branch is not playing. Terrion Arnold is not playing. Like, the Lions are not just like, oh, we have our backups playing. They are having, like, the backups to the backups playing in lots of different spots. And, like, teams are attacking those areas because, they haven't played as much, and therefore they're more likely to commit penalties, and, like, they're not as talented. That's why they're backups. And so, like, you have little, bigger windows to make things happen, because when you're targeting guys that aren't as talented and don't play as much. So, like, I do, but the Lions core includes Jared Goff. I think we should start with a depth chart review. How many holes are there really? And then what can we do with the draft freezers? Laporta's recovery. Oh, I feel like we need 4 new D linemen, backup safety, starter, nickel, outside quarterback. 4 new D linemen. I mean, they have Aiden Hutchinson, who they just committed to, a first-round pick in Tyleik Williams. DJ Reader has been good for this team, and it's like on an expiring contract. They might re-sign him. And Ali McNeil they've committed to and is, 3 months away from an ACL injury, and he might look the way that he did at the beginning of next season when he was excellent. So Wingo also had an ACL and has had other nagging injuries. I believe he is currently on like the NFI list. So if we go cap space, Lions, get rid of the ads. Where is Mekhi Wingo? Wingo. He's right here. So he's on the roster, but he's not playing. Like let's see. Yeah. So this site is just awful with their fucking ad reads. So Wuzurike is this is his last season on the team. Josh Paschal, this might be his last season on the team. Marcus Davenport, same thing. But like, look at the injured reserve. It's like you have $21 million on injured reserve, this year. They have a ton of dead money coming off. They have $40 million in dead money. Carlton Davis, Cam Sutton still, Ragnow's retirement. There's going to be some turnover on this roster, but like I don't think that they need 4 new D linemen. But like the guys, I mean, Brad has drafted players with injury histories. So injury histories don't typically go away. Like it's the abnormal thing that happens. Like when, Matt Stafford had like a separated shoulder when he was a rookie and like 1 or 2 other problems. And then like he went like 8 years though missing a game, when he was in Detroit or whatever. Like that kind of thing is abnormal. It's usually the opposite. Like as soon as you start getting serious injuries, you usually start getting more serious injuries. I just think Wingo is just inactive, healthy, and not playing, which is why I hate Ali McNeil for being on the field if he is still injured. Lopez looks like an okay rotation piece. DJ Reader is probably gone. So, like, if DJ Reader's gone, it's because he's playing for another team, right? So, like, I imagine what will happen is the Lions will say, you can go ahead and test free agency to see if there is a market for him. I imagine there would be for a true nose tackle that can plug up 2 gaps and will help your run defense immediately. But for the same reason, like I think Detroit should, if that's the case, then I think Detroit should make him one of the handful of guys that they re-sign next season. Like whether it's a 1 or 2 year deal, like Tyleik Williams. I mean, do you want to go into next season with Tyleik Williams as the starting nose tackle on the team? I don't. Like the problem that one of the issues I've had with Brad drafting is he wants versatility. He wants flexibility. And so in order to get it, he drafts guys that are kind of hybrid players, like not really an edge, not really a defensive tackle, and then it's like, oh, but can you fulfill the role of a defensive tackle or a nose tackle if you're this hybrid-esque player? Is Josh Paschal a DT or an edge? Well, he's probably not good enough to do either. He's too big to be, he's not fast enough to be an edge, and he's not big enough to be a D tackle. So what are you doing? Like that's the problem, is that like I think that Detroit needs to like put some people in like boxes, like, oh, this guy fits in the box, so like we'll take him, and not like, oh, this guy fits kind of in the box. But like Roy, Dan has praised Roy Lopez in the past for like his work ethic and effort and that kind of thing. So I wouldn't be surprised if they re-sign him. He's on a 1 year deal to be like a backup nose tackle, and maybe you start Roy Lopez on like first and second down or whatever, and then Tyleik comes in and like takes that spot, and there's like a rotation and like the hybrid nose tackle, hybrid 4-eye spot on the roster. I don't know. But like I don't think there's any clean answers. Like one of the things I was trying to do in the mock draft is like, can I find a clean answer, for these things? Like when Laporta comes back, what was Laporta's injury, by the way? Was it an ACL? Shoulder? What was it? I don't remember. Yeah, and like Brad likes hybrid guys, especially on the D line, and so, which is weird because Aiden is he has a fractured spine. What? How did I not know this? Google Sam Laporta injury. Huh. Bone bruise, what was later suspected to be a more serious non-displaced fracture or other spinal issue leading to a need for surgery. Well, that might be more serious than just 1 year. Spine is, you don't mess around with spine. So that's interesting. I mean, so like this is the other problem, is that like Detroit is starting to accumulate players having significant injuries, and they have committed significant money to those players. Laporta extension, I think, is a giant. The whole tight end room is a question mark. So let's talk about the 22 class. So you have those four guys, right? You have Gibbs, Campbell, Branch, and Laporta. And right now, two of them have had season-ending injuries going into their contract seasons, and that's Branch and Laporta. So both of those guys need to come back, I think, or they're going to have to take less money because you don't know. Like if I was Brad, what I would do is I would pick up the fifth-year options on both Campbell and Gibbs, because linebacker, running back, they're just not going to be as much as other tags, and have them play on their tags so that you can break that class up into 2 different years. And then I think you take next season and you say, does Branch look like Branch? Does Laporta look like Laporta? Okay. But if they do, those guys are going to be the highest paid players at their respective position groups. And Brock, okay, so if you want to talk about the tight end room, like Brock Wright was a restricted free agent a couple of years ago. San Francisco signed him to an offer sheet. Detroit matched it. But like, I don't know that Brock Wright is good enough to be a backup tight end in the NFL. Like, I mean, if you're looking at like, a lot of teams are going to like 2 tight end looks, and they're both playing both of those. They're playing those tight ends like they're starters, So I would like to see Detroit go out and get like a big bustin' run blocking tight end. The guy that I really like is Kazmarek from Ohio State. They have a lot of really good players that seem to fit what Detroit wants to do. But like right now he's not even listed as a draftable guy, so like he has been excellent run blocking for the Buckeyes this season, and like whether it's a priority UDFA or like you just use a 7th round pick on him, that kind of thing, like I would get him in the room, and then so what do you want as a backup? Do you want a guy that can do the same types of things as Laporta, or do you want someone that can do something different than Laporta? And like depending on how bad Laporta's injury is, do you have to have a guy that's like he can replace Laporta? Like, so like, do you want someone like Kenyon Sadiq from Oregon in round 1? He'll be on the board when the Lions draft. Like, do you take that guy? Like, I mean, so like I keep thinking about like the Tyleek pick last year. Did they take Tyleek Williams because DJ Reader was 1 year out from potentially hitting free agency and Aleem McNeil had a injury? Okay, if that's the case, then why have they only played him like 25 to 30 snaps a game, if that, this season since Aleem came back, So like he's just not getting the reps, and like they'll play the guys that earn the reps in practice, but like who's even at practice that can compete for reps, So like I think like, is this a year where you use another 1st round pick? It's kind of like, well, we need a body there, I do think because McNeil was hurt, Williams was, yeah, I think so too. Like, I think that was just like, we can't not have somebody in this role on the defense. We need somebody. We'll use our 1st round pick on him, and if that's the case, then like that 1st round pick can be used on anybody. Sonny Styles from Ohio State would be excellent. But like, I think Detroit needs to next season, they need to get back to like, we're a running football team and we stop the run on defense. And you need to like consolidate what has been going on and make things simpler so that you can be more efficient at that. Like, they have better talent in the secondary than they did year 1 or year 2 under this new regime. So get back to just stopping the run, like let that be like when Detroit allows a 100-yard rusher, they lose. Like, effectively the Vikings did nothing yesterday outside of like, they got a lot of turnovers. I think Detroit turned the ball over 6 times and they couldn't throw the ball very much with their 3rd string terrible quarterback, but they ran effectively on us. So that's got to stop, So I mean, how much do you want to commit to stopping the run? But to answer Jacob's question, I am not a Jared Goff fan. I think that Jared Goff does not elevate players around him. I think that the team needs to be better in order to elevate Jared Goff. And I don't want to pay that kind of player 22% of my cap next season. I just don't want to. And I have yet to find anybody that can tell me what Jared Goff's superpower is and why he makes a good NFL quarterback in an age where every other quarterback in the NFL is athletic and Jared Goff is not. And I don't. I mean, they didn't block well for him yesterday. I mean, I know that, but if he's not blocked well for, this is what happens. He's not the kind. He had one really nice play, I think, in the second quarter where he was immediately pressured and he rolled out and hit St. Brown on the move. But he doesn't throw deep. Well, he doesn't throw a nice spiral, so there's trouble when we play outside, and the Packers and Bears have outdoor arenas in the division. And so 4 games a year he's going to be, or 2 games a year he's going to be outdoors against division rivals, and that's not good. So I get that people like him because he's a Detroit Lion and a quarterback, and he's had more success. He's helped the Lions have more success than they've ever had, since he's come here. But I still think that if you're being honest about his overall capabilities, I just don't think that you can make a case that he's a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. So anyways, the Lions they're going to play the Bears, I believe, in Chicago, to finish out the season. Let's see. Week 18, let's click. Detroit at Chicago. Yep. So Detroit's going to Chicago to play the Bears. I don't think that you need to play. If I was the GM, I would sit Aiden, I would sit Goff, I would sit St. Brown, I would sit Sewell, and I would just be like, all right, go ahead. Just run the ball 60 times. Or let Kyle Allen do whatever he wants. It doesn't matter. If the Lions win against the Bears, all they do is they hurt the quality of their draft picks going into next season. If I have heard, I don't think that Jared Goff is going anywhere either. And so he is either going to be extended to lower his cap hit, or they're going to restructure him big and keep him on a timeline. But I also would not be upset if they started drafting players like they did with Hendon Hooker to sit behind Goff and to see if that player develops into something. Jared Goff is now in his early 30s. He is being paid as if he is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. There's a gap there, right? So I am not a believer that Jared Goff can do no wrong. So not saying that you are, I'm just saying that's my stance. And I do believe that he'll be on the team next year, the year after, probably a third year after that. But it's going to become more difficult for the Lions to manufacture cap space. It's going to become more difficult to expect the players to play at the same level that they're playing. A lot of these guys have been in the NFL 3-4 years. Now they're veterans. They're not necessarily rookies. They're going to be transitioning to veteran second contracts. And how do you keep the talent coming in on this team? One thing you could do, you could trade up in the first round, right? You could target very specific players, and you could just bring in fewer rookies on the roster, right? But target guys that you think will actually play significant snaps for you. That's one thing. It's something I would consider doing. I don't know. I mean, And I am so disappointed in the way that this season has gone. I'm happy about the defense. I think that Kelvin Shepherd is a worthy successor to Aaron Glenn, and I think he's going to grow into this role and get better at it. I think it turns out that Ben Johnson was a much bigger piece of the offense than I gave him credit for. I knew that he was a big part of it. I don't think I knew how big of a part of it he was. I mean, both Morton and Campbell, either separately or together, simply do not seem like they can manage like getting the ball spread around. Like Jared Goff wants to throw the ball to two receivers, and that is Sam Laporta and Amon-Ra St. Brown. And so he's only had St. Brown, and St. Brown's target share is like 3 to 4 times that of anybody else on the team. And like he's great. He's a Pro Bowler again this year. Like I'm not casting aspersions on Amon-Ra St. Brown, but like Amon-Ra St. Brown cannot be the only guy that Jared Goff targets. Like I think Jameson Williams has shown that like when you give him 5, 6, 7, 8 targets, like he's 100-yard a game wide receiver, probably with a touchdown, threatens the defense with a lot of things. But like yesterday against Minnesota, they just played cover 0 against the Lions like the whole time. I mean, it was just like 5, 6, 7 guys up on the line of scrimmage, and they just came after Jared Goff almost every single time. Like they both rush more than any team in the NFL, and they drop 8 into coverage more than any team in the NFL. So they are way over here on each end of that spectrum, like how many guys are going to be rushed, and so yesterday Detroit just got it wrong. Like yesterday, Minnesota was like, nah, we're just coming. And they did. And they got there time after time after time, and it was a good time to do it. Graham Glasgow's not playing, Taylor Decker's not playing, so they're down 2 starters, and one of those starters wasn't all that good to begin with, so like, what do you do? I mean, so I think the Lions need to get to the off season, decompress, get back in the film room, get healthy, come up with a plan for like, how are we going to address these things? And my plan is just make it simple. Like Dave Montgomery's on the books for like $8 million next year. Like there is a stretch. Let me see if I can bring it up. There is a stretch of games this season where David Montgomery didn't get the ball like 5 times. And I'll look him up here just real briefly and show you what I'm talking about. So you're like, Drew's a liar. Okay, so here we go. Let me stop doing this. Let me start doing this. Bam. Then I'll have to go back here, add it. Okay. So look at the run snaps that David Montgomery has through week 10. 11, 11, 13, 9, 18. Okay, 4, 13, 12, 16. Okay, so what happens after week 10? I don't know, Drew. Let's figure it out. Let's see what's going on. Oh, look at this. 6, 5, 9, 6, 7, 4, 10. Like it's just ridiculous that the Lions have gone away from David Montgomery to such a degree. 5 running snaps against the Giants? I mean, what are we doing? I mean, like, Jared Goff is going to benefit from like when you are ahead of the chains, when it's 2nd and 6, when it's 3rd and 3, that's when Jared Goff is better as a quarterback. Where he struggles is when it's 3rd and long. And like everyone knows that we're going to pass, and they pin their ears back and they come after him. Everyone performs worse under pressure, right? So don't put Jared Goff in a position where he's going to get pressured as often. Like I would love to see. What I would love to see is some stats on things like turnover differential. like, what was your conversion percentage on third down, on fourth down? What was your defense doing to opposing teams in those areas? What was your red zone efficiency like? Like, those are the stats that kind of dictate like what winning teams look like in the NFL predominantly. You know, how'd you perform in the red zone? Did you get points? How you converted to keep drives alive? Did you turn the ball over more or less than you got it from the other team? You know, that kind of stuff. But Gibbs won the game versus the Giants because when Gibbs scores 3 TDs, it's hard to get Monty out there. Sure, yeah, that's true. You know, it's true. But like, they still both can be. Like, the Lions can just run 21 personnel and flex Gibbs out as a wide receiver. Like, you can argue, like, Jahmyr Gibbs is the closest thing to Christian McCaffrey that's come into the NFL since Christian McCaffrey. Like, the dude is like a legit passing weapon. Like, I want to see them in the game at the same time and flex Gibbs out as a wide receiver so that he's lined up on some poor linebacker that just cannot hope to run with him. Like, the Texas route that they run with Gibbs, has he ever failed to get a catch out of that run? That route? I mean, it's just ridiculous. Like, there's just no one in the NFL that can stick with Gibbs when he's lined up on a linebacker or like even some safeties. I mean, I would rather Jared Goff come to line. Gibbs and Montgomery are both in the backfield. He sees what they're lined up in. He flexes Gibbs out to whatever matchup he likes better. He sees how they react, and then he can either go with that matchup or he can check to a run. Like, that to me is what the Lions should be doing. And like, Isaac Tesla needs to be out there. I mean, the plan was to feature Gibbs. The problem was the O-line went from third best to now 31st. Monty could have softened that demise by fighting through tackles better than Gibbs, but I'd rather just fix the O-line. I do too, but like, are you going to? I mean, like, assuming Frank Ragnow doesn't come back, like, what's the fix? You know, like, there's a scenario where like Frank Ragnow does not come back. Eric Decker retires. You know, and you go into next season with who's the left tackle, who's the center, Christian Mahogany, Tate Ratledge, Penei Sewell. Like, are we going to bank on Mahogany and Ratledge just getting that much better? You know, and then it's like, okay, do we keep a Hall of Fame right tackle, keep playing right tackle, or do we have to take him to left? You know, and like, if this was Madden, right, and and Penei Sewell's I don't know, let's say a 90, you know, as a right tackle, and you move him to the left side, and his Madden grade drops 10 points. Like, he's probably a really good left tackle at like an 80, right? So the question becomes like, do you want an 80 left tackle or a 90 right tackle? You know, and then like, what's the other thing? So like, you know, do you want a 90 right tackle and like a 68 left tackle, or do you want an 80 left tackle and like a 70 right tackle? You know, like that kind of thing. Like, I know that I kind of got convoluted there for a second, but like, that's the issue, is that I don't think, I mean, like, what with Ragnow gone and Decker probably going either this coming off season or the one after, like, it's just going to be hard to replace those guys because they were so good. You know, and like, and for me, the problem is that I don't know what Goff does to alleviate the problems on the O-line. Right? Like, if you have somebody like Lamar Jackson, like, he can run, like, he's mobile. Like, if you have somebody like Joe Burrow, like, he's excellent at manipulating the pocket. You know, if you have somebody like JJ McCarthy, even, like, you can roll that dude out and like move him away from the pressure. Yeah. The problem with JJ McCarthy is he apparently just gets hurt all the time. You know, he didn't get hurt in college. He was healthy for 2 years in college, but like, now that he plays in Minnesota, he's hurt all the time. You know, but like, those styles of quarterback, Jared Goff is none of them. Jared Goff needs to stand there and like, he will try to move up in the pocket. He will try to roll out, and but he's just not as good at that because he's not as athletic. So like, the O-line needs to be perfect. And like, it's very difficult to replace the 10th best left tackle in the NFL and like a top 3 center, you know? And so like, you know, and like, how much of this is Hank Fraley's fault? Like, I mean, like, is that some concern? Like, what if Fraley jumps ship and it's like, oh, well, this didn't go so well in Detroit, and I know Decker's going, and Frank's told me he doesn't want to come back this year. So, like, I'll go be the offensive coordinator in whatever terrible team is fired their staff and looking to rebuild. Like, I still got some sparkle on my name. Like there's this, I mean, I hate to say it, but like, there's a real chance that like Detroit has rebuilt the roster, peaked by going to the NFC title game, come back down to mediocrity because of like injuries and salary cap issues or whatever. And now like the quote unquote like regression to the mean is happening for the Detroit Lions. So like if the regression to the mean is what's happening for the Detroit Lions, my solution to that, I don't know that Brad will do this, but my solution to that is do something different. Don't try to just replace Frank Ragnow. Do something different. Like, so what does that look like? So like put Isaac TeSlaa out there on the field all the time and have him, he's big, like have him block. He's a pretty decent blocker, as a rookie wide receiver, and like the dude can make plays. Like he is a red zone threat. Like let's throw him some jump balls. Jared threw him one against the Vikings and he came down with it. So like, okay, like here's an oddball thing. If Sam Laporta is not ready to go next year, do you play Isaac as a tight end? I mean, I'm not necessarily as like a blocker, but like he's not incapable of blocking. I don't want to put him up against a defensive end. But like, will you have him run some of the same routes that Laporta ran from the same spot? I think, yeah, you're right. So like, and all of that you just listed is true. And I think it points to the fact that like Ben Johnson has a plan for what he wants his offensive line to be. And he went out and he found players that supports that vision, right? So now that Ben Johnson has left, we have John Morton and Dan Campbell in charge of the offense. So what is the vision? What do they want the team to be able to do, right? If it's to run the ball, let's go out and get some absolute maulers and run the ball with David Montgomery and Gibbs a bunch, because I think when you have to rely on Jared Goff to throw you to victory, you're losing. So like, and if you want that kind of run first offense, then you have to keep Sewell on the right side. That is in fact the plan. Sign Maulers. It's a good plan. I like that plan. So like we're going to have to see how it goes. Now that we're a week away from the off season, we're getting to my favorite time of the football season, which is the off season. And so I'll start doing position group breakdowns and having this same kind of discussion topic, but from like a more microcosm scale. And we'll just have to take a look at like, who's under contract, who's hurt, who's playing well, or whatever. Like I do think there are a lot of guys on the team that played really well this year. I think that the unfortunate part of it was there's not enough of them to overcome the guys that have regressed or were hurt, or we saw turnover at their positions. So, I mean, like, we'll take a look at all of it. The offseason is a long time, and then we'll try and renew that hope for the Detroit Lions heading into the 2026 season, right? But hopefully Decker gets healthy and he still plays. Ragnow gets healthy and comes back. We make one or two moves to like retain some guys and draft some new blood. And then everybody's finally not hurt. And we can make a deep playoff run, maybe win the Super Bowl. That'd be excellent. So anyways, I really appreciate you guys. I'm glad you guys had a Merry Christmas. We went a little bit long today. Hopefully Mike will be back a little bit after the holidays when things kind of settle down a little bit for him. And hopefully we'll see you next week talking about a Lions loss from my point of view, but maybe a win. We don't know. See you guys soon.